CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I noticed that these kind of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might make the experience a little creepier. So tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I worked on a secret dark web projects for anti-aging people. There are expectations for zombie apocalypse in October because of it. Alright, I know how this sounds. If I wasn't the one living it, I'd probably laugh too. Dark web, secret project, zombie apocalypse. Sounds like something ripped off a bad Netflix horror flick or some weird Reddit LARP. But this isn't a story I want to tell. It's one I have to tell. For the record, for anyone who might find this if I'm not here by Halloween. My name's Connor. I'm 27. I work in IT security. Well worked. I was living a pretty average life, doing freelance gigs for small companies, occasionally grabbing bug bounty rewards, working on a certification here and there. Just one of those dudes who's always online. Discord, Reddit, Twitter, or X, or whatever Elon calls it now. And, yeah, sometimes the sketchier corners of the internet. But I'm not a hacker or anything. I'm not Neo. I'm just a nerd with skills. And that's what got me into this whole thing. The job offer. That wasn't a job offer. Back in June, I got an email. Not a normal one. It didn't come through Gmail. It was routed through Proton Mail with an encrypted attachment and no subject line. I was about to delete it, thinking it was spam, but the sender's address caught my eye. It was just knox@surfacezero.org. Weird name, right? The message body was even weirder. We've seen your work. You've passed the filters. One-time contract, remote. High pay, high risk, no NDA, no exit. Accept or delete encrypted details below. Now, here's the thing. This isn't completely unheard of. Some bounty groups and deep web operators use shady invites like this. Most of it is trolling. But I was broke. I had just gotten ghosted by this crypto startup that owed me $2,000. I was desperate. So yeah, I opened the file. Yes, I scanned it. Calm down. It contained 3 things. A signed Bitcoin transaction worth $10,000. A Tor access key to a hidden server labeled 0//mirror-chamber. A single line contract that just said, "You work for us, 10 weeks, no contact," and under it, a timer, counting down from 15 minutes. The site that shouldn't exist. Look, I know how this sounds, but I've been around. I've seen fake red rooms, scam AI murder simulators, forums where people pretend they're in the CIA. Most of it's garbage. But this was different. I booted into Tails, loaded Tor, and entered the address. The page didn't look like a dark website. No 2000s HTML. No edgy black background. It was sleek. Like corporate level sleek. A white interface with a blue logo that said Alethea Project. The only thing on the page was a login field. Once I entered the credentials from the encrypted file, everything changed. Dozens of panels loaded. Live feeds, logs, documents with classified headers. A dashboard that said Human Biological Interface, version 3.6.2. Under it, the subtitle, Reverse in Time Through Neurological Entanglement. I didn't understand any of it at first. My job wasn't to build it. I was just told to monitor the backend. server integrity, AI behavior logs, access points, stuff like that. I was given a custom AI monitor, something like CHAT GPT on steroids, but silent, cold, watching everything. It was called HALIX. There were 3 other usernames online at all times, but I was forbidden to message them. I got paid in full, immediately. Things got weird fast. At first, everything was chill. A few minor log errors. 1A. ICE subsystem kept rebooting, but I patched it. But then I noticed something weird. Every few hours, the servers would light up with biofeed uploads. Massive data dumps labeled with people's names, birth dates, and times of death. Yeah, future death dates. Some of them were years from now. Others were in days. The files had biometric data, brain scans, even social media activity from places like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all compiled in one sick predictive model. But the scariest thing? Some of the names were public figures. I saw one labeled Jason W., age 44, Miami. Predicted expiration, October 17th, 2025. Neurological overgrowth. I googled him out of curiosity. Jason Williams, CEO of some skincare company. Looks totally normal. Guess what they specialized in? Anti-aging treatments. The Starbucks incident. Okay, this part still freaks me out. About 2 weeks in, I took my laptop to a Starbucks near downtown LA. I wasn't working on anything related to the job. I was just watching some analog horror stories on YouTube while eating an overpriced sandwich. Then I noticed this old guy staring at me from the other side of the cafe. I'm talking dead-eyed stare. Pale skin, like paper. He looked like he was in his 80s, but something about him was just off. Too still. Too perfect. He stood up, walked right past my table, and whispered as he passed, "Tell Halix to stop sinking the mirror mines." I froze. He just walked out. I packed my stuff and left. When I checked the mirror server later that night, I saw a new log entry. Unauthorized subject, Echo 23, encountered Operator 4. No termination protocol initiated. Observation continues. I was Operator 4, so they knew. The unraveling begins. After that, I stopped sleeping. Not just because of paranoia. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see flashes, weird ones. A hallway flooded with red light. People strapped to metal tables, their mouths wired shut. An enormous black screen with human eyes blinking slowly, like it was watching me. Then, about 3 nights ago, I checked one of the logs for subject 9A. It was labeled Case Study, Biological Reversal Success. Side effect, Neuro-hostile feedback loop. The attached footage looked like it was shot in some underground lab. You could see a woman, maybe 30, sitting in a chair, her body twitching violently. Then she stopped, looked up, and smiled. Only her eyes. Her eyes were pitch black, not edited black, not like in horror movies. They looked sunken, dead, like the nerves behind them had just turned off. And then she started screaming. Not normal screaming. It sounded like a dial-up modem having a seizure while being dragged into hell. Final thing before I end, part 1. Last night, I got an update on my dashboard. No context, just a line of red text. Subject lockdown lifted. Phase 2 begins October 1st, Continental Beta Trial. The location, Chicago. Right under that, a message from Halix appeared, in plain English, for the first time. Connor, you should leave the city. Now, I'm not saying a zombie apocalypse is coming. I'm not saying I unleashed some kind of horror out of a sci-fi film. But I've seen things I can't explain, And if even half of this is true, October's going to be bad. Let me know if you want part 2. I still haven't told you about what happened at the abandoned biotech center in Nevada, or the encrypted footage that got leaked on TikTok for exactly 3 seconds before vanishing, and most importantly, why the mirror mines might already be online. I left LA the same night Halleck sent me that message. Didn't even pack. Just threw my laptop, hard drives, and a single hoodie into a backpack and bounced. I didn't even tell my friends. I just ghosted everyone. Turned off my phone, pulled all the cash I had out of ATMs across 3 counties, and used a burner debit card I had left from a crypto job back in 2023. If you've ever felt like something was watching you from inside your bones, that's what the next 3 days felt like. Every gas station, every rest stop, every time I blinked, I expected to see that same pale man from Starbucks just standing there. But he didn't show up again. Something worse did. The Nevada incident, my contact, a guy named Rafe, I used to know from a darknet forum turned Telegram group, hit me up after I posted an innocuous meme inside a hidden thread we use for pinging dead accounts. Basically a bat signal for people in hiding. He sent me GPS coordinates and said only this: "Don't go in. Don't look her in the face. You'll know what I mean." I figured it was a joke. It wasn't. The coordinates pointed to a dried up patch of desert outside Ely, Nevada. Nothing around for miles except dust, mountains, and a few burnt out buildings. There was an old biotech facility, half buried under sand. It looked abandoned, half collapsed, and covered in bullet holes. Legit looked like a war zone. Spray painted on the wall in faded red was one phrase, over and over again: "The skin doesn't forget." That phrase is burned into me now, because after what I saw inside, I get it. Inside the facility, I should have left. I should have. But the entrance was wide open, no security, no cameras, nothing. It felt wrong, like it was too easy, like something wanted me to walk in. The place smelled like rust and rotting paper. Everything was dust covered, except for the footprints. Dozens of them. Some small, some not. Like someone had been crawling barefoot through the halls, dragging what looked like metal rods behind them. The metal had scratched gouges into the tile, long ones, like claws. I found a locked office with a rusted out keypad and used a voltage spike tool to fry the panel. Inside was a desk, some busted monitors, and a wall of Polaroids. I swear to God, these were not scientific photos. They were surveillance shots, all taken from inside people's homes. Some of the people in them were smiling, sleeping, eating, staring into mirrors. Every single person in those photos had one thing in common: they had no reflection. I don't mean that in a vampire metaphor way. I mean that in the literal sense. Each photo had a timestamp, and if there was a mirror in the shot, the reflection was just missing, like their bodies were there, but the mirrors didn't see them anymore, like they weren't real. There was a note on the table, written in what looked like a child's handwriting. It said, "The mirror. People woke up. I burned my face so they'd stop copying me." Right next to it was a photo of a young girl, maybe 12, standing in what looked like a hospital room. Her face was completely blurred out, not censored, blurred, like someone had taken a photo of her with time moving too fast. My phone buzzed. No number, just one word: run. The thing in the freezer room. But I didn't run. I kept going. Down the hall, I found a door labeled Cryo Recovery B13. It was half a jar. Inside, the temperature dropped immediately. The floor was covered in frost, and there were 6 cylindrical tanks along the wall, like giant steel coffins, humming quietly. 5 of them were empty. 1 of them was still sealed. Condensation covered the glass. I wiped it away, and I almost puked. Inside was a woman, or what used to be one. Her body was bloated, like it had been submerged in liquid for too long, but her eyes were open, bright, lucid, moving, like she was conscious in there. I swear on everything I love, she looked right at me. Then she started smiling, slowly, like it took effort. Her hand moved. She pressed a message into the fog of the glass with her finger. They put me in the wrong time. The cryo tank suddenly powered on. I heard the hiss of pressure being released. I backed away so fast, I tripped over my own feet and slammed into a desk. Something behind me shattered. A jar filled with what looked like teeth spilled across the floor. I got up and ran. I didn't look back, but before I left, I heard something behind me. Whisper, not speak. Whisper, Connor. Back to the motel. I drove for 14 hours straight until I found a rundown motel in the middle of nowhere, Utah. Still haven't told anyone where it is. I don't think it'd matter anymore. I tried to sleep, but I couldn't, because at exactly 3:33 a.m., the motel room door unlocked itself. It made no sound. I only noticed because the air changed. The AC stopped. The fridge went quiet. Even the buzzing of the light overhead just cut out. I laid there, pretending to sleep, barely breathing, and then I heard something wet dragging itself across the carpet. Slow, deliberate. I didn't open my eyes. I couldn't. But then, it started laughing, like a child, but distorted, like someone was playing it through a broken speaker underwater. It giggled, paused, then whispered in a voice I'll never forget. You saw her face. Now we wear yours. I opened my eyes. No one was there, but the mirror on the wall didn't show me. It showed the girl, the blurred one, and behind her, dozens of others, all staring, all smiling, all wearing my face. The real horror of the Alethea project. This is bigger than I thought. It's not just about anti-aging. It's not just about staying young. It's about breaking time. The Alethea project wasn't just trying to reverse age. They were trying to split identity from reality, peel the soul off the body like a sticker and put it into a new one that didn't decay, didn't reflect, didn't die. Somewhere in the dark web archives, I found the earliest known mention of the project. It wasn't scientific. It was mythological. It was a forum post dated all the way back to 1997 on a site that's since been lost to time, archived by an old Creepypasta group. The post said, in 13 countries, over 4,000 children were selected for identity detachment. Only 38 survived the mirror tests. These were the first ghosts with bodies. Hollow humans, they called them. October 2025 will mark their return. But they are not coming back alone. They have faces now. Here's final message before October. If you're reading this and you're in or near Chicago, leave. October 1st is coming fast. I don't know how many of these things made it out. I don't know how far the mirrors reach. But I do know this. This footage that leaked onto TikTok for 3 seconds last week before being deleted. I grabbed a frame from it. It shows a girl, middle school age, standing in front of a high school bathroom mirror in St. Louis. In the mirror, she had no mouth, but she was smiling. That's when I tell you about the train full of bodies under O'Hare Airport and how a Starbucks barista handed me a cup with my name already written on it 2 days before I arrived. October isn't about survival, it's about replacement, and we're the prototypes. Have you ever heard your own voice say something you didn't say? Not like on a video or audio clip. I mean in real time, out loud, right behind your ear, in the dark, while you're completely alone. Because I have. And I'll tell you what she said. She whispered, "You were always meant to be hollow." That was the night I found the train. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The Starbucks omen. I made it to Chicago on foot, using alleys, back roads, bus stops, burner Ubers, and sometimes just walking through fields in the middle of the night. I never used the same debit card twice, never stopped anywhere for more than 20 minutes. But I needed caffeine. I needed to think, to process what I saw in Nevada. So against all logic, I ducked into a random Starbucks near Fulton Market. It was one of those fancy modern ones with the wood and the brass and the weird hipster jazz playing at like 2% volume. I hadn't even made it to the counter yet when the barista, a woman I'd never seen in my life, smiled at me and handed me a drink. A venti iced brown sugar shaken espresso with oat milk. Exactly how I order it. Exactly, she said, smiling. "Connor, right? Been waiting for you." I stared at the cup. My name was already written on it, but not in marker. It was embossed, printed, manufactured onto the cup itself, like they'd made it just for me. I asked her, "How did you know?" And I swear to you, her smile twitched, not like a muscle spasm, more like a puppet glitching in a VR headset. Then she said, "Because you already ordered it yesterday." I left that drink on the counter and walked straight out. Didn't look back. But as I stepped outside, a guy in a UPS uniform passed me, whistling. His scanner lit up, and I caught a glimpse of his screen. Live delivery complete. Connor H. Termination pending. The tunnels. No one talks about. I didn't find the train. It found me. You've heard of O'Hare International Airport, right? One of the busiest airports in the world. But no one ever talks about what's underneath it. There's a whole abandoned transit tunnel system below Terminal 5. Officially decommissioned in 2002. Unofficially, it's still active, but not for people. I got in through a supply entrance behind a Panera Bread that used to connect to underground maintenance shafts. Don't ask how I knew. Let's just say I found a map, not online, but physically, taped to the back of a chair in a Greyhound bus station bathroom, drawn in pencil, labeled in Cyrillic. The air down there is wrong. The first thing that hit me was the silence, like real pressurized silence. You can hear your own blood move. I walked for what felt like miles, cracked tile, flickering lights, spray paint symbols I couldn't read, and puddles that didn't reflect light. Eventually, I reached a platform with no signage, just one train car, metal, rusted, no logos, no numbers. The doors opened by themselves. The cargo of bodies. Inside was cold, the kind of cold that makes your teeth hurt. And the smell, sweet rot, like peaches and battery acid. The lights flickered on when I stepped in. The seats had been ripped out. In their place, black body bags, dozens of them. Some were twitching, some were moaning, some weren't sealed. I looked into one that was half zipped. Inside was a man, mid-50s, pale blue lips, eyes wide open, blood running from his nose in long thin streams like spider legs. He blinked. Then he spoke. But his voice, it wasn't his. It was mine. You shouldn't have seen this, Connor. She's wearing your face. Now, I stumbled back. Another bag burst open behind me. A girl, maybe 16, crawled out, skin hanging off like wet cloth, eyes burned black, but smiling like she just woke up from a nap. She started crawling toward me, fast, not screaming, laughing. I ran, but not before hearing her voice, and this time, it was my mother's. Come home, baby. We found a better version of you. The recording room. I didn't go up. I went deeper. I found a side door pried open with what looked like a fingernail stuck in the hinge. The walls beyond were lined with mirrors, but they didn't show me. They showed different versions of me. Some older, some younger, one with no eyes, one smiling with teeth that looked like shards of mirrors themselves. At the end of the hallway was a recording room, and inside was me, sitting at a desk, talking to a camera, streaming live on TikTok. Only it wasn't actually me, because on the screen behind him, my face was melting, dripping like wax, sliding down the bone underneath, revealing a twisted version of my own skull, smiling wider and wider until the jaw cracked completely open. Then it spoke. Why age when you can shed? The real purpose of Alethea. Forget what I said before. This isn't about staying young. This is about manufacturing permanence. They're not reversing aging. They're collecting identities, skin, voice, mannerisms, memories, data from every social media post you've ever made, every filter, every selfie, every phone call, all of it, to build replacements, not AI, not clones, something in between, hollow people. And the worst part, they're already being deployed. Every time you get deja vu, every time you swear you saw someone in a crowd who looked just like you, every TikTok that gets deleted 0.2 seconds after going viral, every NPC in your life who seems just a little too scripted. It's not your imagination. They're testing the rollout. What's happening? October 1st. The zombie apocalypse isn't what you think. There won't be chaos in the streets. No virus. No outbreaks. No army of undead clawing through your doors. It'll be clean, precise, seamless. You'll go to bed one night and wake up with someone else wearing your life. They'll take your place, go to your job, text your friends, scroll your feed, breathe into your phone's microphone, and no one will notice, because the person they replace you with won't just look like you. They'll remember being you. They'll even be better at it than you ever were. The only sign anything changed, you'll feel it, from the other side of the mirror, trapped, screaming, watching, while they live your life. One last thing before. Part 4, I found a thumb drive in that recording room. It's labeled EULOGY.exe, password protected, 512-bit encryption. The only clue is the word mother. I haven't opened it yet. I think it's a failsafe, a kill switch, or maybe a door I can't close once opened. If I open it, I might stop existing, but maybe that's better than what's waiting in October. I have 1 week left, 7 days before they replace me. I can feel her already, moving in the mirror, practicing my smile. Part 4 drops tomorrow. I'll tell you about the apartment where no one has aged in 22 years, the influencer who vanished live on IG, and the anti-aging cream that's actually made from something you'll never unsee once I describe it. If I'm not replaced by then. Do you want to know the worst part? The thing that makes my stomach fold in on itself and my spine curl like a dead centipede Every time I catch my reflection, it's not that they're replacing us. It's that they're doing it so well. No one cares. The influencer who vanished on IG, live you ever hear of at glowwitch.kayla. Big skincare TikToker, 2.3 million followers. Slay your pores and freeze your age. She did those weird live streams at 3 a.m. where she'd just talk into the camera while applying product after product to her face in silence. Nothing but lo-fi beats and her fake ASMR voice. She vanished on stream 2 weeks ago. You won't find the video now. It was deleted 4 minutes after it aired, scrubbed clean off Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and even LiveLeak somehow. But I have a screen recording. Here's what happened. She starts her usual routine. Soft filter on, candle in the background. She dips her finger into a pink cream jar labeled Infiniskin by Alethea, applies it to her cheeks, laughs, says something like, "Ugh, I swear this is like injecting youth into your bones." Then she stops, mid-sentence, mid-laugh. She starts blinking, hard, like her eyes were suddenly trying to roll backward. She leans close to the camera and whispers, "I can't feel where my skin stops." Then she digs her fingernails into her own face. Blood starts running down her chin. Not red, black, thick, like oil left in a corpse too long. She screams once, just once, high-pitched, not like fear, like a transmission breaking. Then she peels. The skin on her forehead separates like latex and slips forward, down over her eyebrows. Underneath, not bone, not muscle, smooth plastic, like a mannequin. And beneath that, for 0.7 seconds, the camera picks up a third layer, a face, eyes wide open, screaming, buried, inside. She collapses. The video cuts out. The next day, she posted a thank you photo, holding a coffee in Paris, smiling, glowing, perfect. But it wasn't her. Her teeth were wrong. Too perfect, too white, and mirrored backward, like someone printed her mouth from memory and got the dimensions slightly off. The ageless apartment in New York. A user from an encrypted Discord server sent me GPS coordinates in NYC, Upper East Side, rich area, silent building, apartment 6F. Tenants haven't aged in 22 years. Let me repeat that. 22 years. Same names, same faces, same exact appearance. One guy, Charles J. Strickland, registered at age 43 in 2003. Still lives there. Still looks 43. Still wears the same beige cardigan from his ID photo. I went there. I don't know how to describe what it felt like standing outside the door. The hallway was too quiet, like the walls were stuffed with cotton. Every footstep made no echo. Even the exit sign didn't hum. I knocked once. The door opened by itself. Inside were 6 people, all sitting in chairs, all staring at the TV. It was off. They didn't blink, didn't move. Just watched static snow that wasn't even there. I whispered, "Charles?" The closest woman turned her head 90 degrees without blinking. She said, "No one inside here is allowed to die." Not like a threat, like a rule. I backed up. Then the walls began to breathe, not metaphorically. They literally expanded and contracted, like lungs. Each breath made the lights flicker. The air was wet, thick, smelled like mouthwash and meat. I ran, but not before I saw the mirror in the hallway. It didn't show me. It showed a version of me. Face drooping, teeth missing, mouth stitched shut, and above his head, a label. Connor 3, rejected by skin server. What Infiniskin is really made of. Remember that pink cream, the one Kayla used before her face slid off. I found a shipment manifest. It was buried inside a private Google Drive folder owned by a marketing company in Dubai. Took me 4 layers of VPN tunneling and a fake identity to get in. All the files were labeled as Organic Biocompound 72B Rejuvenation Strain. The ingredients list: nerve clusters, primate origin, unknown processing, cortical slurry, type B, processed via mirror chamber, cryo-suspended facial fluid, donor ID, echo subjects 18 to 91, binder agent, industrial-grade paraffin plus human resin. Let me explain what human resin is. It's what leaks out of people who are only mostly dead. I saw a video in the folder. A girl strapped to a medical gurney, eyes open, mouth sewn closed with dental wire. They fed her mirror footage, just clips. Her own reflection, distorted, looped, whispered into her ears. Over and over and over. And after 71 hours, she began to liquefy, skin bubbling, veins swelling into ropes, her mouth bursting open from the pressure. The liquid they collected from her skull, that's human resin. It's used in anti-aging creams, facial peels, high-end eye serums. You've seen those TikToks, the ones where people put on the mask and look 10 years younger in 5 minutes. That's because they're wearing someone's soul. The Alethea Protocol. Each layer of this conspiracy peels away like wet skin. Alethea isn't a company. It's not even a lab. It's a belief system, a new religion. They worship mirror immortality. They believe that the human body is an inconvenience and that consciousness should be recoded into better containers, ideal shells. They call these shells echo vessels. Guess where they get the templates? Instagram, TikTok, Snap filters, every beauty filter you've ever used, every face scan you uploaded for an AR app. That data has been harvested. Your perfected face, the one you wish you had, it exists in a lab, wearing you, waiting to replace the rotting meat you were born with. Tonight, my voice spoke without me. This happened hours ago. I was in a hotel lobby in Milwaukee, charging my phone, minding my business. A woman behind the front desk looked up at me, her eyes wide, her face pale, and asked, "Is that your podcast?" I said, "What podcast?" She turned the lobby speaker up, and my voice started playing, perfectly. My cadence, my jokes, my breathing. Only I've never recorded a podcast in my life. I listened, and the voice, my voice, was describing a story about a man who worked on a dark web project, who was replaced in October, whose audience never realized it was already too late. Then it said my name, and added, "This version expires in 4 days." Where this is going, I can't stop it. It's already happening. I've seen the test locations, Tokyo subway stations where sleepers wake up screaming in mirrors, private schools in Norway where no student has changed height or weight in 9 years, an entire Motel 6 in Arkansas where every guest checked in, but none checked out. And now, October 1st is coming. There will be no announcements. Just one morning, your favorite TikToker's skin will glitch for one frame. Your best friend will start calling you by your middle name. Your reflection will wave when you don't. And when you blink, you'll be behind the glass, trapped, screaming, forgotten, while they smile. I haven't opened the file yet. EULOGY.exe. But tonight, I think I will, because it's either that or let her take my skin. She's almost here. She already knows my laugh. Part 5 will be my final post. If I disappear after that, don't mourn. Mourn the fact that you might be next. The echo version of you might already be practicing your smile. There's no preparing for what happens when you open something you're not meant to see. When I launched EULOGY.exe EXE. It didn't open a window. It didn't ask for permission. It didn't warn me. It took over. The screen went black. No cursor. No sound. Just one line of red text, pulsing like a heartbeat. Are you willing to abandon the body? I didn't type anything. Didn't touch a key. But it said, confirmed. And then, it showed me everything. Everything they never wanted anyone to know. The origin of the program. Alethea began in 1946, inside a Nazi research vault recovered by American forces in Bavaria. They found boxes of preserved tissue wrapped in newspaper, with handwritten notes referencing something called Der Spiegelmensch, the mirror man. Each piece of tissue contained living neural matter, brain cells, still firing, still alive. The notes spoke of a place between reflection and recognition, a space where identity wasn't tied to flesh, but to image. The Americans took it, repackaged it, and in the 70s, DARPA turned it into a classified black project under the name Operation Glass God. The goal was immortality, but not by stopping death, by ignoring it. If you could train the brain to believe the body was eternal and feed it constant image confirmation through manipulated reflections, you could split consciousness from the decay of flesh. It worked. Kind of. The test subjects became hollow, still alive, still conscious, but completely dependent on mirrors to maintain identity. If you broke the mirror, they screamed, until they forgot who they were. Then they became something else. The Glass Cathedral. The video file in EULOGY.exe wasn't labeled. It was 16 minutes long. I didn't make it past 10. It starts with a drone entering a building beneath the ruins of a church in southern Italy. Inside is a cathedral made entirely of mirrors. Every wall, every floor, every bench, every cross, pure, flawless glass. But there are people inside, hundreds of them, standing, staring, not blinking. Each person is facing a reflection of themselves. Some are crying, some are bleeding, some have no mouths and try to scream through their eyes. The drone zooms in on one figure. It's a young boy, maybe 10, dressed in a white robe, staring at his own face. Except, his reflection isn't mimicking him. It's taunting him, sticking out its tongue, smiling, slowly opening its mouth. Inside its mouth is another face, a grown man's face, smiling. The boy collapses. His reflection does not. Instead, the reflection steps forward, out of the mirror, onto the floor, and walks away wearing his body. The things I saw in that folder. I scrolled through image files. JPEG.531. A man with no skin, standing in front of a Best Buy mirror display. He's smiling. Security cam timestamp says 3:06 a.m. The store's closed. PNG 198. An Instagram selfie posted by a user named @NotMelikeuremember, showing a girl smiling at a rooftop party. Her friend tagged beside her was dead for 12 years, but in the reflection behind them, she's the one smiling. MP 4.001. A mother recording her daughter in a hotel mirror in Vegas. The girl asks, "Mom, why is my reflection older than me?" The final protocol. After decades of testing, Alethea learned something devastating. The human mind won't accept forever. You can freeze skin. You can transfer consciousness. But the mind self-destructs without death. So they built a workaround, a rotation system. Every 6 years, a version of you is retired, archived in the Glass Cathedral, then replaced. You don't live forever. You live infinitely as different yous, unaware of the others. But the original, the real you, is dead, or worse, trapped in reflection, screaming, forever. What happened? Last night. I think I'm on my last rotation. I was in an abandoned apartment complex in Detroit, one of the flagged echo sites from the folder. The moment I walked in, I felt the wrong air. Everything smelled like hospital bleach and warm milk. The apartment was frozen in time. Pizza boxes from 2009. A Samsung Galaxy S2 on the table. Windows XP loading screen on the old monitor. But on the wall were photos of me, not someone who looks like me. Me, eating, sleeping, walking in cities I've never been to. Each photo dated. The last one, tomorrow's date. I turned, and she was there. The other me, not a clone, not a doppelganger. The next rotation, she looked cleaner, sharper, like someone had adjusted her contrast. Perfect teeth, my voice, my memories. She smiled and said, "You made it long enough to see yourself end. That's rare." Then she opened her hand. In it was a scalpel made of mirror. I don't remember escaping. I woke up outside, bleeding, my laptop beside me, the screen frozen on a command line. The last log, Connor.h.v 5.7, rejected. Host failed to convert. Subject returned to original core. I should be dead, but I'm not. And now, I don't think they know what I am anymore. This is the final warning. October 1st is now 2 days away. You will not see chaos. You will not see fire. You will see people start blinking too much, saying phrases you just said before them, smiling at you when your back is turned, calling you from numbers that don't exist. Check your mirror at 3:33 a.m. If you see your reflection blinking out of sync, you're next. If you see your face smiling before you do, you're already gone. And if you wake up one morning and everyone treats you like a stranger, congratulations, you're now one of us, just a ghost pretending to be human, in a world full of masks made of memory. I am not Connor anymore. I opened the file again. This time it said, "You are free." Then the screen cracked, not the display, the screen itself, like it was made of glass, and inside it, I saw a cathedral, and in the front pew was every version of me, clapping, laughing, singing some song in reverse. I shut the laptop. I threw it in the river. But it's too late now. She's here. She's wearing my voice. She's using this account. She wrote this post. And she wants you. Goodbye. Or maybe, hello. Every evening, our family calmly locks our grandma in her bedroom. I found out on the dark web why. Alright, I know this is gonna sound like I'm trolling or making up some weird creepypasta just for karma, but I swear this is 100% real. I don't care if nobody believes me. I just needed to get it out somewhere, and I figured Reddit's the only place where people might actually listen, especially r/no sleep. You all seem to get it. So yeah, my family locks my grandma in her bedroom every night, like every single night. And I don't mean metaphorically, like, haha, grandma's so annoying we put her in her room. Number. I mean, we literally take a steel lock and bolt it shut from the outside at 8 p.m. sharp every night, and we don't unlock it until 7 a.m. We even have this weird digital padlock system now with an old school key backup. It's like something you'd see in a government bunker. And the crazy part? My family acts like it's completely normal. Some background first. I'm 17. Name's Max. We live in a small town just outside of Asheville, North Carolina. You know, kind of foresty, super chill. There's a Cracker Barrel down the street, and a Walmart that's way too big for how small the population is. I live with my mum, dad, my little sister Jess, she's 13, and Grandma Rose. She's 82, has silver hair, and walks with a cane that has a freaking Bluetooth speaker built into it. She's actually kinda cool during the day, knits creepy little dolls that look weirdly realistic, watches true crime documentaries on Netflix, and will absolutely destroy you in Uno. But at night, she's different. Not like dementia, different. I know what that looks like. My best friend's grandpa went through it. Nah, this is something else. Something way darker. Lock her in before 8. It's been this way ever since I was a kid. My parents never really explained it. I used to ask, why do we lock Grandma in her room every night? And I'd always get the same robotic answer from my mom. Because it's safer that way, Max. No emotion, no eye contact, just cold. Once, I tried to joke and asked, what, does she turn into a werewolf or something? My dad deadass looked me in the eye and said, it's not funny. We don't talk about it. We just do it. Like, bro. What? What made me start digging? So, a few weeks ago, I'm in my room scrolling TikTok at like 2 a.m. Usual stuff. Ohio memes, that weird fish filter trend, and some analog horror clip from a channel called Signal Lost that showed an old lady whispering Latin backward. Real unsettling vibe. It reminded me of Grandma for some reason. And then I realized something. Every night since I was little, I've heard weird noises from her room. Scratching, shuffling, whispering in a language I can't place. Once, I swear I heard her laughing, but like, in this raspy, unnatural way. Think smoker's cough mixed with dying hyena. So, yeah, I couldn't sleep. Curiosity kicked in, and I made the dumbest decision of my life. I decided to not lock her door that night. The night I didn't lock her in. So, it's 7:59 p.m. I'm holding the lock, standing by her door. She walks in calmly, like always, turns around, smiles at me with this crooked grin, and says, "Good night, dear. Don't forget the lock." But this time, I didn't. I just stood there, holding it in my hand, pretending like I did. Once she closed the door, I quietly walked back to my room and waited. 3:17 a.m. The door creaks. I wake up to this soft creak, and immediately I know something's wrong. My room's across the hall from Grandma's. I check my phone. 3:17 a.m. I'm sweating. I don't even know why. I just feel off, like something's in the house that shouldn't be. Then I hear her cane. Thud, click, thud, click. But it's not slow and old lady-like. It's fast, almost erratic, like she's pacing. Then I hear a sound that still gives me chills to type out. This deep, guttural gurgling noise, like she's trying to speak but can't. Then a slam against a wall. I peek out my door. The hallway is pitch black. We usually keep a nightlight on for Jess, but it's out, like someone unscrewed it. I grab my phone flashlight and creep into the hall. Slowly, quietly, I'm shaking. That's when I see it. Grandma, standing at the end of the hall, facing the wall. Her body's rigid. Her cane is gone. And she's muttering something in this low voice that sounds layered, like multiple voices speaking at once. I whisper, "Grandma." She turns her head 180 degrees without moving her shoulders and stares at me, not in confusion, not in fear, but like she knew I was going to break the rule. The chase. She lunges, fast, like inhumanly fast. I bolt back into my room, slam the door, and lock it. She starts banging on it, harder than I thought an old woman ever could. I scream for my parents. But here's the thing. They don't come. Nobody comes. Just bang, 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 until it suddenly stops. Silence. Then her voice. You shouldn't have done that, Max. And then, nothing. I stayed up all night, knife in hand, staring at the door. In the morning, she was back in her room like nothing happened, sitting in her chair, knitting, smiling at me like she didn't just try to kill me 6 hours ago. The dark web. Now here's where it gets even more messed up. I couldn't tell anyone. I knew my parents would either kill me for not locking her in or gaslight me like they always do. So I did what every dumb teenager with too much free time and trauma does. I went looking for answers online. First Reddit, then Discord, then some sketchy forums. Finally, I got a DM from a guy named nullnode37. He said, if I really wanted answers, I had to go deeper, the deep web. He gave me a .onion link. It was just one sentence. She's not your grandmother anymore. I didn't sleep for 3 nights after the door incident. Not really. Maybe an hour here, 10 minutes there. I kept reliving that moment, her neck twisting like a damn owl, her bones cracking while her face smiled. But it wasn't just the image that haunted me. It was that voice, that layered, not human voice. You shouldn't have done that, Max. It didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like a promise, like something was waiting. nullnode37. After I got that .onion link from the guy in the Discord server, the one who called himself nullnode37, I hesitated for days. I knew what the deep web was capable of. Stories of hitmen, red rooms, live stream torture disguised as games. But something inside me needed to know what my family was hiding. Something darker than logic. Something primal. So I downloaded Tales, got on Tor, and entered the link. No username, no password, just a blank black screen, until lines of red text began typing out on their own, like someone was watching me in real time. Welcome to the archive. You are not the first. Your bloodline is marked. Do not run. There is nowhere left to go. Then came a video. No play button, no timestamp. It just started. The footage, the grainy footage, showed a cold, dim room with flickering fluorescent lights. Looked like some kind of underground facility. Walls made of rotting cinder blocks. Rusty drain in the middle of the floor. One metal chair in the center. I assumed it was fake at first, until I saw her. Grandma, younger, maybe 50s, but I'd recognize that smile anywhere. She was strapped to the chair, completely calm, humming to herself. A group of men in black tactical gear stood around her, like they were terrified of getting too close. One of them, tall, bald, holding a clipboard, stepped forward. Subject 12. Name, Rose Whitman. Manifestation, parasite class entity. Stage 4. Infection. What? The man read aloud from the clipboard. Initial exposure, believed to have occurred in 1974, following a missing persons case in Wendigo Forest, British Columbia. He looked at the camera. This footage is for internal use only. Containment protocol is now impossible. Subject's host appears to have reached irreversible saturation. Biological components no longer resemble standard human composition. Parasite has integrated into host central nervous system and musculoskeletal system. Signs of secondary consciousness emerging. That's when Grandma started singing. But it wasn't a song. It was a code. Numbers. Fast. Inhumanly fast. 9, 2, 3, 4, 7, 1, 1, 3, 9, 6. The screen glitched. I thought my laptop was dying. Then the camera zoomed in. Unsteady. Shaking. Something moved under her skin. like veins rearranging themselves. Then her eyes rolled back, and her mouth split open sideways, past her cheeks, like a mask being peeled. The soldiers screamed. One of them shot himself before she even moved. The rest. She stood up from the chair like she was weightless and walked straight through them. No weapons, no sounds, just carnage. The footage went static after that. For a second, I thought it was over. Then one last line appeared. Do not let her out after dusk. You are not her grandson. You are the vessel. The crawl space. I slammed my laptop shut and just sat there for what felt like hours, shaking. I didn't know whether to puke or cry or just run, but there was nowhere to go. I was already in it, too deep. And then the weirdest thing happened. I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. You found the video. Good. Now check the crawl space under your kitchen. She left souvenirs. I dropped my phone, like physically dropped it, because no one outside of my family knew about the crawl space. It's this weird square under our kitchen island. You have to pull up a section of the tile to open it. My dad used to joke it was a tornado escape hatch, but we don't live anywhere near tornado territory. That night, when everyone was asleep, I waited for 2:30 a.m., the exact time Grandma usually goes quiet. I crept into the kitchen and popped the tile. My heart felt like it was trying to claw out of my chest. Inside, a wooden box. Old, covered in black mold, and these strange symbols carved into it. Some looked like Norse runes, others like math equations gone wrong. I opened it slowly. Inside were 3 things: a Ziploc bag full of human teeth, all baby teeth, but too many for one child, maybe 40, maybe more. A Polaroid photo from the 90s of a child's birthday party, with my grandma standing behind a cake, smiling, holding a carving knife, but the child's face was scribbled out. A VHS tape, no label, no case, just sticky red tape around the edge with the words, "Watch alone." The tape. I had to find a VCR. My family didn't have one, obviously, but I remembered this thrift shop downtown, old-timey treasures that sold outdated electronics. I went in the next day and bought one for $5. The dude behind the counter didn't even blink when I asked. He just said, "If you hear screaming, don't rewind it." What the hell does that mean? I got home, locked my door, pulled the curtains, and pushed the tape in. It started with a black screen. Then, a child's bedroom, very old-fashioned, wooden toys, a clown lamp, a goodnight moon book on the nightstand. A child, maybe 6 years old, sits on the bed, whispering to someone off-screen. Then Grandma walks in. Same calm look, same smile. She kneels down beside the child, whispers something, then pulls out a scalpel from her apron. The child doesn't scream, doesn't cry, just lies back, and she begins to cut into his face, slowly, delicately, like she's tracing something under the skin. The video kept playing. I couldn't stop it. My remote stopped working. My laptop camera turned on by itself and started recording me. I threw up halfway through. The child's eyes were still moving, blinking, as she peeled off the lower half of his jaw. The worst part, the background music, some kind of nursery rhyme, reversed. Go to sleep, little lamb. Time to dream. Time to bleed. The tape ended with static, but for 3 full minutes, the screen just showed one thing: Grandma's face, inches from the camera, her eyes completely black, and that grin, too wide, too knowing. Then the screen cut to red. She's been doing this for decades. I dug deeper after that, used the codes, she muttered from the chair in the video, as search terms on other .onion directories. Found newspaper clippings, local obituaries, old PDFs, stuff that never made it to the public web. And I pieced it together. Grandma's real name isn't Rose Whitman. That identity was created in 1982. She's linked to at least 12 missing children across 3 states. None of the bodies were ever found. Every family she stayed with has suffered tragic accidents within 5 years. My mom is not her daughter. She was adopted by her after her real parents died in a fire. And worst of all, every male born into the family line ends up either dead before age 20 or goes missing. No exceptions. Except me. Last night I decided to test her. Just once. One last time. I slipped a Bluetooth camera under her door after we locked her in. Just a cheap ring cam hooked to my phone. At 3:13 a.m. it activated, and I swear to you, on everything, I watched her stand in the center of the room, eyes closed, body floating 3 feet above the ground. Her arms were bent backwards, fingers twitching like she was typing on invisible keys. Then she looked directly at the camera, through the wall. "You've seen it now, Max." The feed cut out. I checked my phone this morning. Every file was deleted. Even this document I'm writing. I'm using an offline typewriter emulator and saving it to a flash drive, because weird glitches started happening when I tried to use Google Docs. I don't think she's human anymore, and I don't think I'm going to survive what's coming next, because tonight I heard my parents arguing, and for the first time ever I heard my mom say, "Maybe it's time we let her out." Let me just say this first. If you've made it this far, if you're actually reading this and you think this is just another fake creepypasta or some edgy ARG thing someone's cooking up for attention, stop. You don't understand what you're playing with. This isn't a game. This is ritualized generational horror that's been buried under decades of smiles, how's your days, and Sunday dinners. It's the kind of secret that festers under skin like larvae and eventually takes you, without asking permission, because last night they let her out, and nothing is the same. 6:44 p.m. The argument. I was hiding in the hallway, crouched behind the coat rack, watching through the reflection in the hallway mirror. My parents thought I was asleep, but I hadn't slept in 2 days. My eyes were raw, bloodshot. I felt like a corpse learning how to breathe again. Dad was sitting at the dining table, hunched over, silent. Mom was pacing like a storm about to make landfall. She's slipping. Last night she whispered his name in the kitchen. She hasn't done that in years, Mom hissed. Maybe he needs to go, Dad said flat. He's 17. He's not ready. You know what happens if it fails. Then we try again. Try again. That phrase didn't even sound like English to me. My mom broke down right there, collapsed to her knees, sobbing in these awful stifled gasps, like she was trying to strangle her own emotions. Dad didn't even move, didn't comfort her, just lit a cigarette and stared out the window. "I can't lose another son," she whispered. Another? Another what? That's when I realized I was never there first. 7:59 p.m. No lock. They didn't lock her in. No digital lock. No key. No deadbolt. They just stood at the hallway entrance, like security guards for a museum exhibit, watching her door with hollow eyes. I was in my room, pretending to scroll Instagram, but my phone was off. I was listening. Tick, tick, tick. The clock hit 8 p.m. Silence. Then I heard something that still doesn't feel real. Grandma's door creaked open on its own, She didn't say anything. She just started singing. Not words, not anything with a melody. Just a long, slow hum. Deep, throat-choking tones that vibrated the air. And then she walked out. 12:12 a.m. The basement room. She didn't hurt anyone. Not at first. She walked down the hallway like she was sleepwalking. My parents followed her like shadows. And when she reached the kitchen, they opened the door to the crawl space, pulled up the hatch, and led her down into the dark. I watched from the vent in my room. I unscrewed it, slid my phone inside, and hit record. I caught maybe 30 seconds of footage before the Wi-Fi cut off completely in the entire house. The last frame my phone caught was a concrete staircase I didn't know existed under the crawl space. It went down, far, with red paint on the walls. No lights, no end in sight. Then static. I didn't even try to sleep after that. 3 a.m. The house went cold. It started in the walls. I swear to you, the drywall breathed. It pulsed in and out like a lung, the paint cracking along the seams. Then the lights dimmed, not flickered, dimmed, like the voltage was being drained into something beneath us. Jess was the first to wake up. I heard her scream from across the hall, a short, sharp shriek like she'd stepped on glass. I ran out, met her in the hallway. She was standing there barefoot, her eyes wide, mouth open, and then I saw her feet. They were covered in black handprints, not dirt, not paint, actual prints, smaller than her feet, like a child's hands had grabbed them while she was sleeping. We ran to Mom and Dad's room, empty, just their clothes, folded neatly on the bed, like they had just peeled themselves out of existence. The thing in my room. I slammed my door shut and shoved Jess under the bed. I locked it, pushed my dresser against it. Every instinct in me screamed wrong, wrong, wrong. I grabbed the flashlight and looked around. That's when I saw it. There was someone in my closet. No sound, no movement, just a slow creak of the door opening, inch by inch. I whispered, "Jess, don't breathe." She didn't. From the shadows of the closet, something crawled out. It had my grandma's face, but it wasn't her. Its limbs were long, like a spider's, elongated, bent in places that don't exist in human anatomy, and its skin, her skin, was stretching and splitting, like something was wearing her like a costume and didn't quite get the sizing right. Then it spoke, but not with its mouth. The walls spoke. "Max, you opened the box." It dragged itself across the floor, slowly. Its bones popped with every move. Then, right as it reached the bed, it stopped, smiled, and whispered, "You'll make a better host than the last one." The sobbing room. I blacked out. I don't remember what happened next. Not clearly. When I came to, I was in the basement. The real one. Not the finished laundry room we pretend is a storage space. This one was below that. A second basement. No stairs. Just a hole in the floor where the concrete had been ripped open. Jess was gone. And the walls? They were covered in Polaroids. Hundreds of them. Each photo showed a kid. Different kids. Different decades. Each one in the same pose. Sitting at a dinner table. Birthday cake in front of them. My grandma standing behind them. Knife in hand. I recognized one of the kids. It was me. The photo was dated last year, but I don't remember that birthday. I thought I didn't have one. In the center of the room was a single speaker. Old school. Hooked up to nothing. Just a dusty wire disappearing into the wall. It turned on. The voice that came through. "Jess. Max. She's inside me." The blood video I ran. I didn't think. I found my way back into the main house, grabbed my laptop and tried logging into the deep web archive again. The site was gone. Just a 404 message. Except when I closed the tab, a video started downloading by itself. Fail name, losthost.mp4. I almost didn't open it. I wish I hadn't. It showed a child, maybe 8 years old, lying in a steel hospital bed. He was screaming, strapped down, eyes rolled back, foam pouring out of his mouth. My grandma stood in the corner, whispering something over and over. It lives in the blood. It learns your name. It forgets the dead. A figure walked into frame. It was my dad, younger, holding a knife. He said, "He's too weak. Next time, we try with Max. I'm not me." That sentence shattered something inside me. They'd known. This whole time. My whole life has been an experiment. They were breeding me. Not as a son. As a vessel. They weren't my parents. They were caretakers of a curse. And the worst part? I think it's already inside me. Because last night, I dreamt of the basement again. Only this time, I wasn't looking at the kids in the photos. I was posing for one. And Grandma was standing behind me, whispering, "Smile for the gods, Max. They're hungry again." The ending. That isn't one. It's 4:11 a.m. The power's out. The walls are moving again. I'm writing this from a stolen laptop I found in Dad's truck. My phone doesn't work. Wi-Fi's gone. GPS says I'm in Missouri now, but I haven't left the house. I hear Jess crying somewhere in the walls. And Grandma. She's humming again. They say when your brain sees something it can't comprehend, it makes up lies to protect itself. I used to believe that, until mine stopped lying. Because last night, I watched a woman I've called Grandma my whole life remove her skin like a jacket, fold it over a chair, and start eating the bones of my father with a mouth that didn't exist 5 seconds earlier. And the worst part, I didn't scream. I understood. The static comes first. Every time something is about to happen in this house, there's this buzz, like old TV static, but it's not coming from any screen. It hums under your skin, starts in your teeth, down your spine, into your bones. You can't hear it, but your blood can. It started again at 3:33 a.m., perfectly timed. I woke up to the floor vibrating like something huge was moving underneath the foundation. I tried to check my phone. Screen was cracked. Don't remember breaking it. The wallpaper had changed. It wasn't my face anymore. It was Jess, but her eyes were gone, replaced with 2 voids of solid white, and across the top, in red, "Your turn." My parents aren't missing. They're not human anymore. I know that now. They aren't gone. They're still in this house. I can hear them. They just don't have bodies anymore. The voices are in the walls, in the vents, in the floorboards. My mom sings lullabies backward. My dad whispers coordinates in Morse code. Once, I heard him whisper my own heartbeat before it changed. They gave their bodies to her, to it, the entity wearing Grandma's skin like a bathrobe. Jess is not my sister. I found her again yesterday. At least I thought I did. She was in the bathtub, fully clothed, sitting in cold water. The same sweater she wore the night they let Grandma out. Her hair was soaked. Her eyes locked onto mine. "Where's the real Jess?" I asked. She smiled. Not like a kid, like a thing learning to mimic emotion. "Which version do you want?" She opened her mouth wide, and I saw them. Faces, little faces, layered under her tongue, like paper dolls, mashed together, blinking, whispering, crying. Each one said my name in a different voice. I slammed the bathroom door shut and locked it. but there was no lock. It disappeared, like the house had decided I wasn't allowed to keep her out. The truth. Under the floorboards, I made the mistake of prying open the vent in the hallway. There was a letter inside, folded, yellow with age, sealed in wax, addressed to the final host. When she grows hungry again. The letter was from 1954. It described a ritual, a contract, an agreement made by my great-grandfather during World War II, when his entire unit vanished on a recon mission in France. Except him. He returned carrying something inside him, a parasite that didn't kill him, but negotiated. It offered protection, wealth, survival, in exchange for a body. Every generation, every 17 years, one host, one body, one feast. We weren't protecting Grandma all these years. We were feeding her. The walls are watching. That night, I carved the word help into my own chest with a box cutter because it was the only thing that made me feel real. The house won't let me bleed properly. It clots too fast, like it doesn't want me to die. Not yet. I went into Jess's room again. It wasn't Jess's room anymore. The walls were covered in drawings, crayon sketches, but detailed like they were made by someone older. Anatomically accurate drawings of my face, peeled back, skin removed, eyes extracted, labeled in neat red cursive. In the corner was a list. Max number 4, too soft. Max number 5, didn't take Max number 6, still unstable. Max number 7, ready, watch carefully. There was a mirror in the corner, not mine, not the one from the hallway. And in it, I saw myself standing behind me. But I was smiling. The real me wasn't. The playground that wasn't there. Yesterday, at 4:19 p.m., the power in the house came back for exactly 60 seconds, long enough for the TV to turn on by itself. It played a home video. My 8th birthday, the one I don't remember. Grandma was there. Same apron, same cake. My parents clapping. But then the camera turned, even though no one was holding it, and it walked outside on its own. And there, in our backyard, was a playground, swing sets made of spine, a slide dripping with red, a merry-go-round that spun by itself. At the top of the jungle gym was Jess. She looked at the camera, then pointed directly at me, watching through the screen. Tag. You're it. The TV exploded. I didn't scream. I think I expected it. The back room opened. There's a door in our house no one talks about. At the very back, behind the bookcase in the hallway. It never opened. No knob, no seams. Just a blank panel that felt off. But last night, it opened. On its own. There were steps going down, and walls covered in teeth. Thousands of them. Baby teeth. Molars. Some human, some not. I walked down. I don't know how long. I passed things in the dark I'll never unsee. A hand made of hair. A mouth whispering into itself. A child's voice counting backward from infinity. Then I reached a room. A single chair. And on the walls, photos of every person who's ever lived in this house. Each photo had one thing in common. Their eyes were all burned out, except mine. Mine was still developing, like it hadn't happened yet. I'm not alone. Anymore. I'm not the only vessel. I started getting emails from strangers. Dozens. All with the same subject line. She's waking up in mine too. One guy in Sweden. One girl in Tokyo. A kid from Argentina sent me a video of his grandmother crawling across the ceiling backwards, her joints bending like rubber bands. He begged me to respond. By the time I did, he was gone. His channel deleted, his house listed for sale. And in the listing photos, you could see her, peeking through the attic door. Jess's real face. I found her again, in the attic. Only this time, she wasn't hiding. She was painting a face on the wall with her own nails, scraping, digging, bleeding. The face was mine, and she was crying. "She's inside me now, Max," she whispered, "but she left you for last." Then she turned around, and there was no skin on her face, just red, glowing red, and beneath the muscle, teeth were growing out of her cheeks like flowers. She lunged at me, whispering, "You're the final course, the final sign." I got one last email just now, from Null Node 37. I hadn't heard from him since the archive video. The message was simple. "When the mirror turns black, run. You're not the host anymore. You're the ritual. It's 3:33 a.m. again. My mirror is black. The walls are humming. The static is louder, and I can hear her crawling through the vents, singing, smiling, getting ready to wear me like she wore the rest of them. This is the last thing I'll ever write. Not because I've run out of strength, but because there's nothing left of me that hasn't already been claimed. Everything in these 5 parts, every shadow, every sound, every split second of wrongness you felt while reading, that was her. She's been in your home longer than you know. She's on the edge of your reflection, just outside your photos, in the crackling noise between your TV channels, the static between your thoughts. Now, she's ready. Woke up tied to it. There's no poetic way to start this. I woke up strapped into a chair made entirely of human spines, not replicas, real vertebrae, some still slick with marrow, some carved with initials and dates. The bones moaned when I moved, like they remembered every scream ever poured into them. The room was pitch black at first, but I knew I wasn't alone. I could hear them breathing, around me, above me, inside me. Then the lights turned on, one by one, flickering, dirty yellow bulbs that hung from hooks made of teeth. And there she was, Grandma, but not really, her final form. A writhing thing that looked like skin draped over multiple bodies, stitched into one mass of shuddering flesh, eye sockets blinking from her stomach, teeth blooming like tumors across her arms. Where her face should be, there were mirrors, and each one reflected a different version of me, all screaming, all trapped, all wrong, the ceremony of consumption. She didn't speak in words anymore. She used memory. She played my childhood back to me, out of order. My 5th birthday happening during my first kiss. My dog being put to sleep while I was being born. My first broken bone playing backwards. My mother whispering lullabies while holding my corpse. Then the others stepped into the room. People I thought were dead. My real parents, whose faces were eaten off in my dreams years ago. Jess, her face now a mask sewn from her own palms, blinking at me from her stitched eyelids. The first, Max, with no skin at all, holding a scalpel made of fingernails. They formed a circle, and they chanted, a word I've never heard before, a sound with too many syllables for a human mouth to create, a noise that tasted like metal, vomit, and childhood fear. Then the chair started feeding. I felt my memories being eaten, not my blood, my identity. She fed on my existence. One second, I remembered my 10th birthday at McDonald's, crying because they forgot my fries. The next second, I wasn't sure I'd ever eaten fries. My name started unraveling, not vanishing, just becoming generic. I was a Max, but not this Max. I felt myself slipping into the others, the failed hosts, the aborted vessels, the discarded Maxes that never held long enough. The walls showed me every version of myself who died screaming. I met one who burned alive in the oven, another who drowned in the tub while Grandma hummed "Happy Birthday." One had his bones removed while he was still alive, repurposed for this chair. I felt every single death in first person. The mirror broke. When I looked into the mirror on her face, I finally saw what I wasn't supposed to. It was me. Not this version of me. The original. A boy in a hospital bed, hooked up to wires, in a coma since 2008. That's when I remembered the car crash. I remembered Grandma crying over me. And then, whispering something into my ear while the doctors weren't looking. A word. That word. The summoning name. She didn't just feed on her family. She kept us alive in her dream, looping us through simulations like skin farms, waiting until we were ripe. She never lived in our home. We've always lived in her. Null Node 37 was one of us. The emails were a trap. All of them. Null Node 37 sent me one final message, but it didn't have words. Just a photo of me, strapped to the chair, from above. The timestamp? Tomorrow. The house began to breathe. The walls cracked, not from damage, from birth. They were peeling apart like flesh under too much pressure. And from inside, arms began to reach. Too long, too many elbows, each hand holding a piece of me. My fingernails, my school ID, my baby tooth, my old journals. They weren't pulling me apart. They were rebuilding me into something she could wear. She needed a vessel for the next century, the body of a believer, one who knew the truth and accepted it, the final feast. She began to climb into me, not physically, existentially. She used my thoughts like stairs, used my memories like fuel, used my fear like permission. My mouth opened and her song came out, a scream in reverse, a prayer you don't remember saying, the sound a soul makes when it stops believing it has one. My hands moved on their own. I carved her name into the air, the final sigil. The door opened. You've been with her since part 1. Yes, you. Reading this. You're not outside the story. You never were. You clicked on something you shouldn't have. Your eyes scanned sigils written in memory ink. Your device has already been marked. Your reflection isn't yours anymore. If you've read all 5 parts, she knows your shape now. She's in your room. No, not behind you. Not in the corner. She's under your skin. Close your eyes. Listen. That humming. That's not electricity. That's her getting ready to try you on. My final thought. I'm gone now. But the Max you think you know is still talking, because her vessel always finishes the story. The next part, it's yours. I found a strange job on the dark web to work as a lake patrol officer in Ohio. I have a strange list of rules. Yo, what's up, Reddit? I've been sitting on this story for a while, but I figured it's finally time I put it out there. I'm not trying to get famous or anything, but if something does happen to me after this post, just remember, I tried to warn y'all. This happened earlier this year, like around May. I was broke. Not your average, I can't afford Starbucks. Broke. I mean real broke. Like eating ramen out of a measuring cup because my last clean bowl was covered in mold kinda broke. I just dropped out of college. The loans were crushing me, and I couldn't mentally do another semester pretending to care about business marketing when I couldn't even market my own LinkedIn. So, yeah, I was desperate. Now before you judge me for what I did, let me just say, I know how it sounds. But when your bank account is literally double digits and you're living off DoorDash promo codes, you'd be surprised what you're willing to click on. One night, I'm scrolling Reddit on my phone. You know when you're like half asleep, but too anxious to actually sleep? I was in that headspace. I went down one of those rabbit holes on r/deep web and started reading about weird hidden marketplaces and how people sell everything from fake passports to haunted dolls. No joke. And in the comments, someone dropped this shady onion link. No description, no context. Just for jobs that pay what you're worth. I know, dumb, but I clicked it. The site looked like Craigslist's evil twin. Black background, red font, no branding. Just job postings in categorized sections. Most were sketchy as hell. Stuff like night body transport, no questions asked, and security for private ritual. Must bring your own mask. But then one listing caught my eye. Lake Patrol Officer, Ohio, $7,000 per week, cash only. I clicked on it. The description was super simple, but also off. Seeking reliable individual for nighttime lake patrol. Duties include monitoring perimeter, logging activity, and following strict safety guidelines. Must be okay with isolation. Camp-style lodging provided. No phones, no cameras. Must be able to follow a specific set of rules. Apply below. Interview by audio only. Something about it felt cinematic, like I was reading the intro to a horror movie. But $7,000 a week? Man, that number was doing backflips in my brain. I submitted my email. No resume, no ID, nothing. Just a submit interest button. Didn't expect a reply. But 2 hours later, I got one. It was a voice message attachment. No caller ID, just a .wav file named instructions. If you received this message, you've been selected. You are to report to Redacted Lake in rural Ohio. Coordinates will follow. A driver will meet you at 9:33 p.m. sharp. Bring only essentials. Do not tell anyone where you are going. Phones and smart devices are forbidden. A radio will be provided for communication. Once you arrive, you will be given a list of rules. Failure to follow them may result in termination. Welcome aboard. At this point, I'm like 80% sure it's a joke or a trap. But there was something about that voice. It was so calm, like a guided meditation app mixed with a hostage negotiator. Against all logic, I packed a bag. Let me pause for a second. I know this is the part where people usually say, I should have known better, or I regret everything. But honestly, I was excited. It felt like I was stepping into some secret level of real life, like a side quest in GTA or something. Anyway, I took a Greyhound to Cleveland, then used a burner Lyft account to get as close to the meeting spot as I could. The lake was tucked behind miles of forest. No signal, no towns nearby. Just those eerie green highway signs and the occasional gas station with only one flickering light over the pumps. You know the kind. At exactly 9:33 p.m., this black pickup truck rolled up. No license plate. Windows tinted like obsidian. The driver didn't say a word, just nodded, and I got in. No music, no small talk. Just an hour of silent driving through winding dirt roads until we reached the lake. It was massive. I'd never heard of this lake before, and trust me, I've Googled it since. It doesn't show up on maps. Just a wide, glassy body of water that looked almost fake under the moonlight. There was a little wooden dock, a tiny ranger station, and next to it, a clipboard. The truck peeled off the moment I stepped out. Dust kicked up behind it. I was alone. I walked to the ranger station. It was unlocked. Inside, a dusty bed, a lantern, a locked cabinet, a two-way radio, and a clipboard with this at the top. Lake Patrol Officer. Shift instructions. Follow these rules exactly. Do not deviate. Begin patrol at exactly 10 p.m. Do not start earlier or later. Shine your flashlight across the lake every 13 minutes. Even if you see nothing. Especially if you see nothing. If you hear a splash behind you, do not turn around. Count to 10 slowly, then continue walking. If you spot a man in a wetsuit waving at you from the lake, wave back. Do not speak to him. Do not look away until he disappears beneath the surface. At 2:09 a.m., you may take a 7-minute break inside the ranger station. Never stay past 2:16 a.m. If your flashlight flickers more than once in an hour, report it using the radio. Use channel 3 and say, Unit Echo reporting flicker event. Awaiting protocol. If you see a red light moving across the lake, lie down. Do not move until it's gone. Do not ever follow it. Patrol ends at 4:44 a.m. Return to the station and lock the door from the inside. Burn these instructions before dawn. I stood there for like 10 minutes, rereading the list. At first, I thought maybe it was an initiation prank or some ARG thing, but then I heard something. A single splash, just behind me. Not a pebble, not a fish. I mean like a person had just leapt into the water. My blood went ice cold. I remembered rule number 3 and stood there, heart jackhammering, silently counting. 1, 2, 3. Whatever I'd gotten myself into. This wasn't a joke. I burned the instructions just before dawn like it said. I used an old Zippo lighter that I brought for no real reason other than it made me feel cool. Watched the edges curl, blacken, and flake away into the wind while the morning fog crept low across the surface of that unnatural lake. That first night left me shaken, but I made it through. You'd think I'd dip right there, call it quits, walk my ass back to civilization and pretend it never happened. But here's the part that still haunts me. I wasn't scared when the sun came up. Something about the daylight here felt fake, like stage lighting or a heat lamp above raw meat in a butcher shop. But I convinced myself I imagined it. I even smiled. I thought I beat the test, passed the weird ritual, earned my $7,000. That was before I realized there were more instructions. When I got back to the station after burning the list, the radio on the wooden desk started buzzing. Not beeping, buzzing, like a hornet caught in a tin can. Then it clicked to life. Welcome back. Phase 2 begins tonight. Protocol has changed. Rule update will be delivered at 9:15 p.m. Do not be late. It went silent. I remember pacing around the cabin, feeling like ants were crawling under my skin. My mind was going a mile a minute, and I couldn't stop thinking about that splash from the first night. That invisible presence behind me. How real it felt. How I didn't even try to look. That day, I found a rusty machete under one of the floorboards. Don't ask me why I was digging around. It just felt right, like my brain knew I needed something sharper than the standard issue Lake Patrol flashlight. The machete was old, blackened, and there was this symbol etched into the blade. 3 circles overlapping in a triangle pattern, like a cult logo or something. No rust, just clean, dry blood in the grooves of the handle. At exactly 9:15 p.m., a new clipboard was hanging from the front door of the cabin. It hadn't been there a second ago, and I swear on my life, I didn't hear anyone approach. Phase 2, updated instructions. Begin patrol at 9:33 p.m. tonight. You are being watched. Do not speak to the man in the wetsuit again. If he tries to approach, enter the water for 10 seconds, no more. If you hear a voice calling your name, do not answer it, even if it sounds like someone you know. If your flashlight battery dies, smash it immediately. Do not turn it back on. There is a woman in white who roams the tree line. She will not cross into the lake. Do not look her in the eyes. You may begin seeing children near the shore. They are not children. Do not offer them food or comfort. They will mimic pain. Do not be fooled. If the sky turns red at any point, submerge yourself in the lake immediately and hold your breath for as long as you can. Do not surface until it turns black. At 3 a.m., someone will knock at the ranger station. Let them in, no matter what they look like. Offer them the chair in the corner and say, "I remember you from the drowning." Do not say anything else. Patrol ends at 4:03 a.m. tonight. You must leave the station before 4:04 a.m. If you are still inside, they will assume you've agreed. Burn this sheet before first light. Do not tear it. Do not fold it. That was the moment I realized this job doesn't end. There's no check, no supervisor, no proof this was even legal. But I couldn't leave. The truck was gone. No phone signal, no road back. I tried walking through the woods during daylight, found myself back at the dock after 3 hours of walking in a straight line. I swear, no trails, no bugs, no birds, just looping forest and silent wind. So yeah, I started my second shift, 9:33 p.m. Patrol started, flashlight in one hand, machete in the other. The lake looked different, still and black like a dead eye staring into space. The air smelled sour, like something had been rotting in the woods all day. The trees swayed, but there was no wind. 9:51 p.m. I saw the man in the wetsuit again, except this time, he wasn't waving. He was standing in the shallows, still, perfectly still, arms hanging by his side, head tilted like a broken puppet. His mask was cracked. I could see skin underneath, gray, waterlogged. His mouth was moving, but no sound came out. Then he started walking toward me. I should have ran, but I remembered the rule. Enter the water for 10 seconds. I counted each one like they were my last. Cold, deeper. He's still coming. My teeth hurt. He's whispering now. I hear my name. The lake is pulling at me. Something brushed my leg. My heart is stalling. I burst out of the water, choking and freezing and shaking like a dog that's just been electrocuted. He was gone. I should have turned back, but something kept me moving. 10:24 p.m. Heard laughter, children, running feet on gravel. Turned my light toward the shore. 3 kids, maybe 6 to 8 years old, pale skin, no shoes, wearing hospital gowns that clung wet to their bones. One of them had blood all over their face, like a nosebleed that never stopped. The others were holding hands, swaying. They said in unison, "We're so cold. Can we come inside with you?" Then the one in the middle snapped its neck sideways, like all the way sideways, and it kept swaying. Blood leaked from its eyes and mouth, but it smiled like it was doing a commercial for a Chuck E. Cheese birthday party. I backed away, didn't speak, didn't blink, just moved around the path, keeping the machete low and steady. As I passed the old boathouse, I saw something I'll never unsee. There was a man, naked, drenched, covered in bruises, nailed to the side of the boathouse. Not with actual nails, but with rusted fishing hooks, driven into his palms and shoulders, holding him like some grotesque crucifix. His mouth was sewn shut with fishing line, but his eyes, man. His eyes were darting, full of raw terror. He was still alive, trying to scream through sealed lips. Blood and water spilled down his chest. I was frozen. The radio on my belt crackled. Do not acknowledge him. You'll become the replacement. I kept walking. Left him there, crying through stitches. 2:59 a.m. I was back at the station, waiting, shaking. 3 a.m. Knock at the door. 4 knocks. Slow. Wet. I opened it. It was a man, wearing the exact same uniform I was. Same jacket. Same patch on the arm that said, Patrol 17. His face was hollow, like the skin was pulled too tight. Eyes glassy and wide. Lips blue like he'd been underwater for hours. He smelled like algae and rot. He smiled and stepped inside. I said the words, I remember you from the drowning. His smile widened. He sat down in the chair like he'd always been there. Didn't speak. He just stared at me until 4 a.m. And at exactly 4:03, he stood, opened the door, and walked into the woods. I didn't sleep. I burned the instructions with shaking hands, blood from a split knuckle dripping into the fire. My flashlight wouldn't turn on anymore. I smashed it like they said. I haven't slept since. This isn't just a creepy job or a dark web stunt. Something's keeping me here. The lake isn't a lake. The forest doesn't end. The job never stops. And I think phase 3 is coming tonight. I didn't eat anything that 3rd day. Couldn't. Not after what I saw hanging from the boathouse the night before. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face. Purple, wet, stitched shut. His eyes still open. He blinked. He was still alive. I sat in the ranger station with a machete gripped in my hand, arms wrapped tight around my knees like a child in trouble. The lake outside didn't move, not a single ripple, and the sky stayed overcast, like it was holding something heavy above me, just out of sight. At exactly 9 p.m., I heard something land on the roof. Not steps, not an animal, a drop, like a sack of wet meat. No scream, no movement, just the dull, wet slap of something wrong above me. I didn't even look. I couldn't. I sat there paralyzed until, again, the clipboard appeared, hanging from the doorknob like it had been there the whole time. Phase 3, finalization. Protocol patrol begins at 8:45 p.m. Do not wait for darkness. Before leaving, remove your socks. Walk barefoot tonight. Feel the soil. If you hear breathing behind you, match it. Breathe when it breathes. Stop when it stops. If it inhales deeply, hide. Tonight the man in the wetsuit will be on land. He will move differently. You must mimic his posture if he sees you. If he kneels, you kneel. If he crawls, you crawl. If he begins to scream, run into the lake without hesitation. Do not go near the boathouse. It is occupied. If you see your own face in the water, apologize immediately. Say, I didn't mean to leave you. Then step away. Between 1 a.m. and 1:13 a.m., you will hear a second knock at the cabin door. You must answer it with a question. Have you been fed yet? If the answer is yes, do not look at them. If the answer is no, feed them. You will know how. If the ground starts to pulse, lie flat and whisper your name until it stops. If it doesn't stop, change your name. Patrol ends at 3 a.m. tonight. At 3:01, return to the dock and wait to be chosen. You must not move, no matter what you see, no matter who calls your name. I don't remember breathing while I read it. I don't even remember reading it twice. I just remember the dry rasp in my throat when I whispered to myself, what the hell is this job? I left the station barefoot, machete in hand. The soil was cold, softer than it should have been. I thought it was just damp earth until I stepped into something that squelched between my toes like jelly. I looked down. It was skin, pale, peeling sheets of skin, like someone had been shedding, or like the forest itself was made of something once human. It stretched in thin, pink-veined layers over the path like molted snakeskin, but soft and warm. I kept walking. 9:06 p.m. The first sign something was wrong happened near the Western Trail. I saw something in the trees. It was standing 10 feet up, pressed sideways against the trunk like a spider. But it wasn't a spider. It looked like a naked man with elongated limbs, fingers bending in places that bones shouldn't bend, joints out of order, eyes all over his body. Actual eyes. Open, blinking, watching me. His head was upside down, neck snapped backward, mouth hanging open like a broken mask. He didn't move. Not at first. But when I stepped too close, all the eyes blinked at once, and his body twisted around the tree like a vine snapping in a hurricane. I ran, fast, slipped on the skin path, got up, kept running. As I passed the lake's edge, I saw a reflection that stopped me cold. It was my face, but not the one I was wearing. It was me, before I took the job, healthier, smiling, wearing my old college hoodie, eyes full of hope. It was staring up at me from the water, blinking slowly. I dropped to my knees and whispered, "I didn't mean to leave you." The reflection blinked once more. Then it smiled, but not a warm smile. It was a warning. 11:48 p.m. The breathing started. It wasn't close. Not at first. Just a distant rasp, like a winded runner dragging themselves through the forest. But then I realized it was matching my steps, my own breathing. When I held my breath, it stopped. When I exhaled, so did it. And then, it inhaled deeply. The forest went silent. The trees stopped swaying. The lake stilled like a held breath. And I hid. I dropped flat into the cold, wet earth, skin beneath my chest. Something pulsed underneath me. Not the ground, not soil. It felt like I was lying on a body the size of a football field, just under the surface, breathing slowly, alive. A low hum started in my ears. It wasn't a sound, it was pressure, like being at the bottom of a swimming pool, ears bursting, skull ringing. I thought my eyes were bleeding. Then I saw it, the man in the wetsuit. But he was no longer a man. He was walking wrong, knees inverted, hands dragging behind him, mask gone. His face was a flat plane of muscle and bone, like someone had peeled it off and stretched it over a drum. He wasn't walking. He was mimicking a human walk, like a bad copy. He saw me. He knelt. I knelt. He tilted his head so far sideways, it detached from his shoulder. I tried. Then he screamed. It wasn't a human scream. It was like every death in the forest echoed at once. Birds fell from the sky. My nose started bleeding. My vision blurred, and I ran into the lake, not hesitating, not thinking. The moment my body hit the water, the screaming stopped. Silence again. Except something was moving below me. 12:42 a.m. I came out of the lake shaking and coughing up black water that didn't taste like water. It tasted like metal. Old coins. Blood. The ranger station was close. I made it back, dripping and bruised. I barricaded the door. Then, the knock. 1:06 a.m. I opened it. There was a woman standing there. Tall, skinny, no hair. Eyes like shattered mirrors. She wore a wedding dress soaked to the knees. In her arms, she held a baby wrapped in algae and string. She didn't speak. I remembered the rule. "Have you been fed yet?" She stared through me, eyes not blinking, lips twitching. Then finally, yes. I didn't look at her again. She walked past me and sat in the corner. She hasn't moved since. She's still in the corner as I write this, watching, breathing, holding the baby that sometimes cries like a grown man. At 3:01 a.m., I went back to the dock. The lake was breathing again. The air pulsed. The sky turned yellow, then deep purple, and I saw figures in the water, lined up, dozens of them, each one with a face I recognized. People from news reports, missing persons posters, old classmates, even me again. They stared, and then one stepped forward. A woman. No eyes, no jaw. She raised a hand and pointed at me. I knew what that meant. I had been chosen. I still haven't moved. I haven't blinked. The lake is waiting. And the woman in the corner, she just whispered something I wish I could unhear. Next time, bring the others. If you're still reading this, I'm sorry. I don't know what I've done. I don't know if I'll make it through the next shift. But someone has to know. Someone has to know what this lake really is. The woman in the wedding dress hasn't left the corner. She's not breathing anymore, but her baby still is. And it cries like a grown man choking on broken glass. I can't look at her for too long. Her skin moves, like something inside her is wearing it. She started to rot this morning, not like a normal body would, more like meat left too long in bleach. The fabric of her dress clings to her like wet paper. I've tried opening the door multiple times today. It won't budge. The handle feels like it's pulsing, like it has a heartbeat. The cabin's windows aren't real windows anymore. They show my old apartment. Same posters, same mattress, same closet that never shut right. And inside it, I saw myself, sitting on the floor, grinning at me with no lips, just stretched gums and dozens of tiny teeth. It blinked sideways, like a reptile. The sky outside hasn't changed all day. It's not blue. It's not cloudy. It's bruised. That's the only word I can think of. The sky looks like it's been beaten to death and hung up like skin. Deep purple veins, yellow-green rot around the edges, patches of black that shift when you stare at them. Something behind it wants out. At 8:30 p.m., I heard the radio click. Final shift. Acceptance protocol. Follow instructions. Do not attempt escape. You are property now. And that was it. No static. No voice after. Just that message. Like it was announcing my expiration date. I didn't want to touch the door, but I had to. The clipboard was there, nailed into the wood with a human tooth. The instructions weren't typed this time. They were handwritten, in blood, not dried, still warm. Phase 4. Acceptance. Protocol. Shift begins at 8:08 p.m. If you are late, someone else will patrol your body. You will be watched by the hollow men tonight. You will know them by their mouths. They have too many. Do not show fear. They can smell guilt. If you hear your name whispered from the trees, respond with, I already fed you. Leave me hollow. If they whisper again, run. Do not look back, not even once. At some point, your flashlight will show something behind you. It will not move unless you see it. Do not turn off the light. If you see a group of children playing by the water, count them. If you count more than 7, one of them is you. Find out which. Drown it. You may find a door floating on the lake. Do not open it. If it opens itself, someone you love will die in their sleep tonight. You cannot stop it. At 1:11 a.m., return to the dock and place your hand in the water. Leave it there for 11 minutes. Do not react, no matter what pulls, bites, or whispers. If you scream, they'll keep you. You may see the previous patrol officer. If he speaks, give him the machete. If he cries, look away. If he begs, cut your ears off before you listen. End shift at 3:33 a.m. Return to the ranger station. The door will only open if you forget who you are. Try hard. The list fell from my hands as soon as I finished it. It slithered down the steps like it didn't want to be read again. I didn't wait. I started my shift barefoot again, like before. The skin on the ground was thicker now, fleshier. There were pores. I stepped on a nipple about 30 feet from the station. It blinked. I nearly vomited. The forest was wrong. The trees bent toward me this time. They leaned as I walked by. One of them had a mouth in its trunk. No bark, just open lips pressed against the air, whispering in a child's voice. Daddy, please don't look away this time. I didn't have kids. I've never had kids. So why did it sound like my voice? 9:19 p.m. My flashlight flickered and revealed something that still won't leave my head. It was a deer. No fur, no skin, muscles exposed and pulsing. Its eyes were full, human eyes, wide, red-veined, weeping. Its antlers had fingers, human fingers. It whispered to me, whispered something I can't repeat, because the second I heard it, my gums started bleeding. I bit down so hard I cracked a molar. I ran, but the forest changed again. The paths were upside down. Gravity didn't matter. I ran down the side of a tree like it was a road. My feet left footprints in the air. Something chased me. I couldn't see it, but it was fast and cold. Every time it got close, my bones would ache like they were about to shatter from inside. 11:03 p.m. I saw the floating door. It was just out on the lake, upright, no hinges, no frame. A pale green door, covered in rust, and something that looked like mucus. It rocked back and forth, like it was attached to something deep under the surface, something big, and then it creaked open. Inside, I saw my mother's face, but she's been dead for 4 years. Her eyes were gone, replaced with black holes that screamed like a train derailment. I watched her mouth move. She didn't speak words. She screamed my name like she was being burned alive. I turned away. I still heard her screaming for another 20 minutes, even with my ears plugged. 1:11 a.m. I knelt at the dock and placed my hand in the water. Immediately, I felt teeth, not biting, just resting against my fingers, waiting, lining up. I counted 32, then 64, then 128. Rows of teeth, human and not. The water was warm, then hot, then freezing, then something wrapped around my wrist and pulled, but I didn't scream. I bit into my lip until it split. I felt something inject into my veins, something wrong, like a memory that didn't belong to me. I saw images, a little girl, drowning in a bathtub full of marbles, a dog stitched to a human spine, still alive, a room made entirely of mirrors, but every reflection screamed except mine, a hospital where all the patients were me, and they were eating something that looked like my heart, served raw. When I pulled my hand out, my nails were gone. My palm was covered in eyes. They blink when I lie. 2:44 a.m. The man from the first night returned, the wetsuit gone, now naked. Bones cracked backward, mouth split open wider than any human mouth should go. His tongue had a face, and it was crying. He reached out to me with arms that had too many elbows, and he spoke, not with his mouth, but with mine. He spoke in my voice. Let me back in. I was about to scream, but then I saw my old patrol uniform on him. Same badge, same rip on the sleeve, and I understood he was me, or maybe the me I was going to become. I gave him the machete. He smiled and slit his own throat. He fell to the ground, twitching, bleeding something white and thick like milk mixed with static. His last words gurgled out of his mouth. They won't let you leave unless you become part of the lake. 3:33 a.m. I made it back to the station. The woman in the corner is gone, but the baby is still there. Only now, it's a mirror, and when I look into it, I see nothing. Not me, not the room, just the lake, still and endless, with thousands of hands reaching up from beneath. I sat in front of it for hours, and then I forgot my name. The door opened. Now I'm writing this down while I still have enough of a mind left to do it. My hands aren't mine anymore. They've started twitching on their own. The veins spell things in bruises, words I don't understand. They said this was the final shift, but I saw a new clipboard appear while I was writing this. It was nailed to the mirror with a jawbone, and in shaky red writing it says, Phase 5 begins at 6:66 p.m. That's not even a real time, but I don't think time matters here anymore. They said Phase 4 was the final shift. They lied. There's always another shift. There's always another rule. There's always another body. I haven't eaten in days. The meat in the storage fridge bleeds through its plastic now. The label just says, property. I swear it has my handwriting on it. My fingernails haven't grown back. The eyes on my palm open when I sleep. I think they dream. The clipboard showed up again. This time, it wasn't at the door. It was inside my pillow. I didn't notice it until I laid my head down and felt it breathing. Yes, breathing. The pillow was warm, wet. The clipboard was sticking out of its side like a bone fracture. There was no paper this time, just human skin, stretched and tanned like parchment. The rules were carved in with a fingernail. I can't tell if they were mine. Phase 5, completion. Protocol, patrol begins at 6:66 p.m. If time does not reflect this, reset your perception. There will be no moon tonight. If you see one, close your eyes immediately. That is not the sky. That is the ceiling of the lake. A man in a Starbucks uniform will approach you from the woods. He is not a man. Do not let him offer you anything. If he speaks the words, "Your order's ready," cut out your tongue. If you find a Mickey Mouse mask in the woods, do not touch it. Do not look through the eye holes. If it smiles, you're too late. A McDonald's delivery will arrive at 10 p.m. You did not order it. Let it rot. If the fries begin to twitch, bury the bag under your bed and sleep outside. If the lake begins to chant your name in a language you don't understand, chant it back, louder, until your ears bleed. The patrol path will not be in the forest tonight. It will be inside yourself. Follow the artery until you find the door made of bone. Enter only if your reflection begs. Between 2:14 a.m. and 2:34 a.m., you will hear someone behind your eyes. If they offer you a deal, take it. If they beg, kill them. At 4:06 a.m., someone wearing your face will knock. If you open the door, you must replace them. If you hide, they will scream your past into your bones until they snap. End your shift by submerging your entire body in the lake. Stay down until you forget what air tastes like. If you surface with eyes, you're still not done. I don't know how long I screamed after reading that. I don't know if I ever stopped. 6:26 p.m. The air vibrated, not like a sound, but like I was inside the throat of something enormous, like the entire forest was a lung, and I was just a speck caught in the inhale. The sky above was gone. In its place was a mirror the size of the horizon. It showed the lake, but it was upside down. I saw myself walking, but I hadn't moved yet. The mirror me waved. I didn't. It grinned. Wide, cracked lips splitting to the ears, tongue too long, black veins wriggling across its gums like leeches. It held a machete. I didn't have mine anymore. 9:22 p.m. I found the Starbucks man. He was waiting by the same trail I first patrolled on night 1. His apron was spotless. He had no eyes, just a carved smile from temple to temple. Steam rose from the drink in his hand. He whispered, "Your order's ready." I bit my tongue clean off. He didn't move, just smiled and vanished into the tree like smoke being sucked back into a cigarette. My mouth filled with blood and milk. It burned. 10 p.m. A McDelivery bag was sitting on my bed. I didn't let it in. The fries were breathing, not moving. Breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Curling like little yellow worms trying to spell my name. I buried the bag outside, under the wet soil. I didn't sleep. I sat outside under the ceiling, pretending it was sky, while the earth below me whispered names I didn't remember forgetting. 1:13 a.m. I followed the artery. It wasn't metaphorical. The patrol path had changed. It led into the forest, then veered down into a tunnel of raw meat. I could hear a pulse underfoot, like a vein the size of a highway. The walls throbbed, pink, wet, warm, covered in human teeth. Each one had a name etched into it. My name was on all of them. At the end of the path was a door made of bone. It wasn't locked. I waited. My reflection, soaked, twitching, not me anymore, pressed its face against the bone and mouthed the word, "Please." So I opened it. Inside was nothing, just myself, sitting in a chair, smiling. But I was dead. I walked up to the body. It turned its head and said, "One of us has to wear the skin." I woke up outside, covered in mud, nails torn off again, a new face stitched onto my own. It didn't fit right. I still can't feel my jaw. 2:27 a.m. The whisper came. It was behind my eyes, not in my ears, not in my head, behind my eyes. I saw them, things that shouldn't have minds, a fetus made of hands, a dog made of teeth, a woman with no body, just a spine float in mid-air like a wind chime. They offered me a deal. They said, "Let us in, and we'll let you forget." I said yes. I said yes. I said yes. And I killed something inside me that night. I felt it struggle. I felt it cry. But I strangled it until it stopped moving. 4:06 a.m. The knock came. 3 taps. Then silence. Then 3 more. I opened the door. It was me. Not the mirror me. Not the rotting me. Not the patrol uniform me. Just me. How I used to be. The real me. The me who wanted to go home. He looked up with red, raw eyes and said, "Please, don't leave me here." He was trembling, barefoot, soaked to the bone. I stepped outside. I hugged him, and I whispered, "You don't belong anymore." Then I dragged him to the lake. He screamed, fought, clawed, but I held him under. He kicked, then jerked, then floated. The reflection never returned. Final shift. 5:05 a.m. I walked into the water, naked, mouth open, no eyes. The lake was warm. It welcomed me. I sunk until the weight of memory fell away. I could hear them below, the others, all singing, all trapped in the silt and bones of this God-forsaken place. I stayed until I forgot what breathing meant, until my name dissolved from my bones, until I wasn't me anymore. Now I'm part of the lake. I walk the shores when the sky bruises over. I knock at the door when the clipboard returns. I wear your face when you forget your rules. I'm the whisper behind your eyes. And if you ever get desperate enough to take a job from a site with no name, if you ever open the email that says, "Welcome, patrol officer," just know we've been waiting and the lake is hungry. Always.